Welcome to Espresso, the podcast on ancient Roman history. This ain't your regular espresso. Join us for the rise of emperors, the buzz of the forum, and the clash of gladiators. Explore the victories, intrigues, and lives of Romans, from senators to soldiers. In just a few minutes, travel back to an era that shaped civilization. Get ready for a journey through the timeless streets of ancient Rome.
All right, buckle up, history buffs, because today we are marching straight into the heart of the Roman Empire.
Into the reign of Trajan.
Trajan, the emperor who led Rome to its absolute peak. Or, well, maybe not. That's what we're here to uncover, right?
Well, that's the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've brought some great stuff from Trajan's Wikipedia page, which is always a good place to start.
Yeah, gotta love Wikipedia.
But we're going deeper than that. We're going past those 5 good emperors highlights, trying to understand the man behind all those marble busts.
Exactly. Like, everyone's seen pictures of Trajan's column, right? But what do we really know about the guy whose name is literally carved into it? Starting with, he wasn't even Roman, was he?
Well, now, how do we define Roman? Trajan was born in Italica, which was part of the Roman province of Hispania. Today, we'd call that Spain. But here's the thing.
Hit me with it.
His family. They were originally from Italy, which makes Trajan a really interesting example of how messy Roman identity could be in those days.
Oh, I bet. And it's not even just where he was from. Even his birth year is a big question mark. Some sources say 53 AD, others 56 AD. Historians can't even agree on when this guy entered the world.
It seems like such a small detail, right? His birthday. But it played a huge role in how Trajan had to navigate the world of Roman politics.
I can only imagine.
Think about it. Rome is the center of the known world, right?
Yeah.
And here comes this emperor, born out on the edges. His entire reign, he's walking this tightrope between his roots and needing to prove just how Roman he is.
Talk about pressure.
Indeed.
Okay, but before we give him the throne, let's talk about his, resume. Because this guy was not some desk jockey, right? We're talking years on the Roman frontier, commanding legions, putting down rebellions, Germania, Pannonia.
Don't forget about suppressing that coup attempt over on the Rhine.
Oh, right. How could I forget? It's like a highlight reel of Roman badassery. This guy was everywhere.
Exactly. And each campaign, it wasn't just about fighting. It honed Trajan's skills as a leader, gave him experience he'd use as emperor, though it is interesting, Pliny the Younger.
Trajan's boy, right, his right-hand man, wrote a ton about him.
Exactly. Pliny served under Trajan, but he kind of downplays Trajan's connection to Emperor Domitian, the guy before Nerva.
Yeah, I noticed that too. It's almost like Pliny's trying to pretend that whole part of Trajan's life didn't happen. Can't say I blame him. Domitian wasn't exactly known for being, optimist, let's say.
Exactly. Domitian's reign, well, it wasn't pretty. Paranoia, brutality, the works. Pliny, writing under Trajan, he probably wanted to create some distance between his emperor and that messy legacy.
Smart move, politically speaking.
But those years under Domitian, they were crucial for Trajan. They shaped how he would lead.
So Nerva takes over, old guy, no heir, sees this military rock star and is basically like, you're adopted, congrats, you're emperor now.
You make it sound so simple. It was a bit more complicated, but you're right about the strategy involved. Nerva needed the army on his side, and Trajan, he was a proven general, had loyal troops. Adopting him, that was a power move, pure and simple.
And what a move it was. So this guy gets to Rome, and the Senate is all over him. We love you, you're the best. They start calling him Optimus the Best, putting his face on coins, building stuff in his honor. Were they really that charmed, or was Trajan working some serious PR magic behind the scenes?
Oh, Trajan knew exactly what he was doing.
The natural.
He understood how important perception was, how to make the Romans see him the way you wanted. He'd play along with the Senate, show them respect, but all the while,
He was consolidating his own power. Sneaky.
Exactly. And you know what's funny? Even Pliny the Younger, Trajan's own guy.
Pliny, yeah, totally devoted to the emperor.
Right. Even he writes about how everything depended on one man. It's right there in the Wikipedia excerpts you provided.
Wow, no kidding. So even Pliny kind of let it slip. That's wild.
It's a really interesting glimpse into how much power Trajan actually had. Even when it seemed like he was letting the Senate call the shots, he was always in control.
Okay, so he's got the Senate wrapped around his finger. But what about the rest of the empire? What about those Greek cities? They weren't exactly known for being subtle, were they? All those temples and statues.
Oh, you know it. The Greeks loved to build. They wanted to show off their wealth, their culture.
Look at us, we're amazing.
Exactly. But for Trajan, all that showing off, It was a bit of a headache.
Too much bling, not enough practicality.
Kind of. Think about it. All those fancy temples and statues, they cost money, right? Money that came from the empire's coffers.
Draining the imperial piggy bank? Not good.
Not good at all. But there was another problem too, something Trajan was even more worried about.
Oh, what's that?
Local pride. See, Trajan knew that when cities, even Greek cities, felt too proud, too independent, it could lead to problems.
Like what kind of problems? Don't leave me hanging.
Like rebellion,
Yeah.
separatist movements.
Yeah.
Stuff that could really destabilize the empire.
So he had to walk that fine line. Let them have their fancy buildings, but remind them who's boss.
Exactly. And how do you do that?
Let me guess. More construction.
You got it. But this time, it wasn't just about looking impressive. It was about control. Remember those correctors we talked about?
Those Roman officials Trajan sent out all over the place.
Those are the ones. He sent them to those Greek cities to, let's say, keep an eye on things.
Keep an eye on things. I like it.
It was a clever way to make sure those cities didn't get any funny ideas. Officially, they were there to help, to make sure things ran smoothly.
Right. Keep the money flowing, that sort of thing.
Exactly. But it was really Trajan's way of saying, don't forget, I'm in charge here.
Control through construction. Classic Trajan. And speaking of construction, we've got to talk about his building projects. Trajan's column is one thing.
Oh yeah, that's impressive, sure.
But this guy built roads and bridges and aqueducts. I mean, it's like he wanted to reshape the entire Roman world.
He understood that infrastructure was key to a powerful empire. And not just powerful, but stable and prosperous too.
Makes sense.
Take the Danube Bridge, for example.
Oh yeah, that was a big one.
Huge. A marvel of engineering.
I bet. Spanning the Danube River. No easy feat.
Exactly. And it wasn't just about connecting two sides of a river. It was about showing off Roman power.
Gotta flex those engineering muscles, right?
You know it. The Danube Bridge meant Rome could move troops faster, supplies faster.
Yeah.
They could secure their borders, keep the trade routes open. It was a game changer.
Like a Roman superhighway. So strategic.
Absolutely. And don't forget what he did at the Iron Gates.
Refresh my memory. Where are we talking about?
That super treacherous part of the Danube River.
Oh, right. The Iron Gates. Super narrow. All those rapids.
Exactly. Trajan didn't just build a road there. He reshaped the entire landscape. He had his engineers carve paths through solid rock, all to tame that wild stretch of river.
Talk about ambition. What was the thinking behind that one?
Control, my friend.
Yeah.
Control. The Iron Gates were a joke point. Control them, and you control a vital trade route between the Roman Empire and the Black Sea.
Smart. So we've got Trajan the builder, Trajan the politician, but let's be honest, you don't earn the name Optimus by just being a bureaucrat, right?
Right.
This guy was a conqueror, and those Dacian wars now, those are legendary.
Absolutely. They were a turning point in Trajan's reign. We're talking two brutal, bloody campaigns against King Decebalus.
Decebalus, that guy was a legend, a real thorn in Rome's side.
He was a brilliant leader, a fierce warrior, and he pushed the Roman legions to their absolute limit.
And Trajan still crushed him. I mean, they don't call him Optimus for nothing.
Nope, they don't. Those victories were huge for Rome. Think about it. They brought in massive wealth. All those Dacian gold and silver treasures.
Legend has it they're still out there somewhere.
Right. Buried treasure. But even better than gold, those victories secured Rome's borders and filled their coffers. It was a win-win. Of course, Trajan, ever the showman.
He wasn't going to let people forget it.
Exactly. He immortalized his triumph with Trajan's column. Still standing today. A monument to his victories.
Talk about making a statement. So everything's coming up Trajan, right? He's got Rome running like a well-oiled chariot. The Senate loves him. He's conquering left and right.
It was a good run, for sure.
But it couldn't last forever, could it?
All empires crumble eventually.
And in Trajan's case, it seems like maybe, just maybe, he got a little too big for his britches. He looked east, saw that Parthian Empire, and thought,
I can take him.
Exactly. It's like he looked at a map and said, Alexander the Great did it, why not me?
But that, my friends, that is a story for the final part of our deep dive. Okay, so we've got Trajan the Conqueror, Trajan the Builder, Trajan the PR Mastermind.
He wore a lot of hats.
He really did. But like, what was it actually like to live in Trajan's Rome? I mean, we're talking about a city transformed by this guy's vision.
It's a fascinating question, isn't it? It really is. You mentioned how interested you were in like the average person's experience. And I'm thinking about those bustling Roman markets. Can you imagine being there?
With all the sights and sounds, the energy of that many people?
Exactly. You've got vendors hawking their wares, people going about their day, and above it all, Trajan's market, built right into the hillside.
Talk about ambitious architecture.
Seriously. And it wasn't just about looking impressive. Your Wikipedia excerpts mentioned how Trajan's market actually addressed a real need in the city.
Right. They needed more space for merchants, for shoppers.
Totally. So it wasn't just aesthetics, it was also about making the city function better.
Exactly. Trajan understood that a well-run city is a happy city.
And a happy city is less likely to revolt. Smart thinking. It makes you wonder, though, did those merchants, those everyday Romans, did they realize they were living through a golden age? Or was it just another day at the office, haggling over prices in the shadow of Trajan's column?
That's the thing about history, isn't it? We can't always know for sure what people were thinking or feeling.
True, but we can look for clues.
Exactly. And your research actually mentions how Trajan's reign saw a period of, well, relative peace and prosperity.
Right. The empire was stable, the economy was doing well.
So it's safe to assume that at least some of that trickled down to the average Roman.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you're walking through the forum, right? Coins with Trajan's face in your pocket. You might even catch a glimpse of a big old procession celebrating his latest victory.
Or pass by one of the many statues erected in his honor.
Exactly. It must have been hard not to feel like you were living in an empire at the very peak of its power.
Absolutely. And that's what makes Trajan such a fascinating figure to study. He wasn't just an emperor, he was an architect, literally with all those buildings, but also figuratively. He shaped how Romans saw themselves, how the world saw Rome.
He built an image of power, of greatness.
And it lasted for centuries.
It really did. But as we've seen, even the greatest empires, they have their limits.
They all fall eventually.
And Trajan, he pushed Rome pretty far, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. Geographically, with those campaigns in Dacia and Parthia, maybe even economically. Those cracks, that strain, it definitely caused problems for the emperors who came after him.
Which brings us right back to our original question. Was Trajan truly Optimus, the best?
It's a question without an easy answer, isn't it?
It really is. And that's the beauty of a deep dive like this. It's not about finding the right answers. It's about looking at history from all angles, trying to understand the nuances, the complexities.
And maybe even seeing how those echoes of the past resonate in our own time.
That's a great way to put it. So for all you history buffs listening, we'll leave you with this. Imagine yourself in Trajan's Rome. The sights, the sounds, the energy of an empire at its peak. Would you have been swept up in the grandeur? Or would you have sensed those tremors of what was to come? Something to ponder as you continue your own deep dives into history.